Hey guys, here we are for a short track guide in the Mercedes W12 at Interlagos. Now for this track guide, I'm going to show the lap in full speed first, and then I'm going to play the lap in slow motion and break down my approach to each corner. Hope you enjoy. And now here's the slow motion lap. So that was a 107.636, and now we're going to break down each corner. So as we are starting the lap here, just getting a good exit out of the final corner, we have a long straight to get to the first corner, just taking the right hand side to get as much speed as possible before we get to the finish line, crossing it in 8th gear here, and now we're looking at the right hand side, just trying to figure out where our brake marker is. So we see the 150 coming past, and then the 100. We're going to be looking at the 50 board, and we're going to be aiming for like that, right between the 50 and the end of the wall right there. So basically the 50 and then the walls we're kind of splitting it at 25, and then right at the 25 we'll start getting on the brakes, getting around 50 to 60, maybe 80% at most. But the goal here is to try not to get the apex completely because the curb is like a bit raised. So as we're getting up to the apex, you can see we're starting to trail off now. And then you can see that as we reach the apex, we're only getting about like half the curb. If you get up there, it's more elevated and it'll unstabilize the car. So we're only taking about half of it and then getting back to partial throttle through here. And then as we turn back to the right-hand side for the second part of the chicane, you'll see we're almost full throttle, but then as we approach the right-hander, we're going to get back to like 50% throttle just for a little bit. You don't want to take full throttle through here because the rear is going to get really unstable. So just waiting until we get clear of that, and as we're smoothing out the wheel, we'll get back to full throttle through this turn 3 here, holding the left-hander as long as you can, and then starting to unwind the wheel. You don't need to use all the curbing out there. Getting back to the DRS activation zone as soon as it starts, and then you see we're up to 8th gear going down this long straight. Good passing opportunity through here if you get a good exit out of turn 3. And then we're going to be looking at the right-hand side of the grass. We'll see that there's a little break in it with the asphalt, and basically like a car length after that break is when we're going to be getting on the brake. So like a car length after, then hard on the brakes to like 60 to 70% brake pressure once again. No need to get full 100% brake pressure. Gonna be shifting down to 4th gear quite late here, and then once again trying to get part of the curbing here, but not too much of it. You can see it's again like steeped up, so if you get too much of it, it's just gonna push you wide. So again, 50% throttle at apex, using a full lock as we get back to full throttle, and then using up as much of the track as possible through here. So back to full throttle, just taking the shortest distance through this next corner, just taking it flat, and now approaching the double right-hander through here. So this is a pretty technical section, really approaching the middle sector here. So trying to carry a lot of speed on entry here, but then once you get to the curb, getting back, letting off the throttle. So right as we get to the curb, letting off the throttle, and then a small bit of brake. However, because we're getting on the brake, the car is going to start to rotate a bit more, and so you get back on the throttle for like a modulation. You don't want the car to oversteer, or else you're going to get like right up on this curb. So to minimize that oversteer in the middle of the corner, once you get on the brakes, back to partial throttle through here, and then waiting for the car to turn in and judging how much to get on the throttle based on that car's handling, and using up all the track on the left hand side here. And then as soon as you get to the curb, as soon as you can unwind the wheel, getting back on the brakes. There isn't really a good brake marker for where to go, but the car is going to kind of understeer out of this corner and it's going to put you up on the left-hand side. So basically, as soon as you get there, that's when getting on the brakes. There's not really such a thing as braking too early through here. Again, 50% brake pressure. And then you can see you're going to try to turn in and get as much curbing on the right-hand side. The car's kind of always going to want to understeer through these low-speed corners. And you can see that the wheel is just kind of sliding off there. So trying to get turned in, but you're always going to put yourself on like the left-hand side of the track through here. Again, I'm downshifting to second as we get in the middle of the corner here. You could probably keep it in third. You can see getting up on that curve, it's just wheels not really rotating too much. And then 50% throttle, again, really easy place to get the rears unsettled if you get on the throttle too early through here. Up to third and then up to fourth, finally up to fifth as we're approaching the right hairpin through here. Braking really, really early before we even get to the curb on this right-hand side. I'm kind of aiming for the brake in this wall as a brake marker. And like 50% to 60% brake pressure down to second gear. And I would say there's like two distinct lines through here. One is kind of like taking the middle of the line and trying to focus on a good exit, and the other is like losing a lot of time on the entry by taking a shallower line. But the benefit for taking this shallower line, you can see I'm basically coasting really early to get a lot of rotation, tap of the brakes, and then coasting, is that I won't end up so far wide on this curb. It's really easy to get on that curb, and then the rears just have no traction. So I'm minimizing how far wide I'm going to run, and I'm able to get back on the throttle a bit earlier. So it just depends on what line feels more comfortable. You might adjust throughout the race. But back to this left-hander here, we're basically full throttle through here, like 90% if you're scared that the rear is going to get a bit unstable. Up to seventh gear, using up all the track on the right-hand side through here, and then downshifting to fourth, around 50% brake pressure, and I'm braking, I would say, like as I'm halfway up this path, you can kind of use some of these grass marks throughout to judge. And I probably took a bit too much of this curve. You'll see that I turn in, and then on partial throttle, you can see the car is still bouncing a little bit, and I'm not sure if the rear is unsettled to do a small bit of counter steer. Maybe not needed, but if you avoid the curb completely, you might not need to worry about that counter steer. So getting back to full throttle, just taking the shortest distance up to the finish line, and that's a lap around Interlagos. So I would say the biggest challenges are just getting the car rotated in the slow speed sections, because those are the places you can really gain or lose the most time. But hopefully this track guide was helpful. Good luck in your races, and here are the things that were used. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.